This is application note AN0302. I'm Terry West, and in this application note we're going to introduce you to the concept of pages. So let's start a new project in SHIPTide, say new project, and we're going to use the SIM231 for this project, and we're going to call this AN0302 pages. And we're going to target the A03 variant. I happen to have a SIM231 A01 attached, so let's just choose the A01. And we're going to choose the basic template. Now, the template is a starter project for SHIPTide. And we're going to say finish. And we're going to use this template project unmodified to show you a little bit about pages. You'll see pages displayed in this column right here. Those are the thumbnails of your various pages. So pages, or screens, if you will, are pages in your GUI that have distinct functionality. Now, pages can get pretty complicated and have lots of different modes, but typically you're going to have a user interface that goes from one page that's maybe your main page with control, and maybe you'll go to an information page, a settings page, maybe a page where you have a menu that then goes on to other pages. So the concept of pages is basically a full screen container that the user lives in to do some functionality and then navigates away from or navigates to. And in SHIPTide, you can see we've got 3 pages in this GUI. So if I look at this column, I can use my center mouse wheel and roll up and down. If there's 20, 30, 40, 50 pages. If there's a lot, you might want to go to the text view and just see the names of the pages here, or maybe shrink your thumbnails so that you're looking at a smaller view of the thumbnails. Now, you're seeing the thumbnails here, and as you click the thumbnails, you're going to see the large view of each page show over here. And when you do, let's say you choose splash or over this overlay page here, you will also see in the layout area the page highlighted. And subsequently, or correspondingly, if I choose the page over here, it also flips to the page over in the right-hand section. So if I choose the splash page, I see the splash page. If I choose the home page, I see the home page. Now, this template, you can modify this, and you may want to build your own template as a starter project, and every time you start a project, you open your template and go from there. But in this template, there are 3 pages. There's a splash page, and I know this object is a page because when I click on it and I look over in the property sheet, it says page here. And there's a home page and what we would call an overlay page, a page that would pop up and overlay another page. Now, this splash page just has a background image and a few things inside it. Touch the screen to continue, the welcome, the logo, and we'll talk about how to position those things and set those things up in future videos. But for now, let's just talk about pages. And there's this home page that has a header area, footer area, some buttons, and an information page that is an overlay. Now, notice on this overlay page that if you look at the properties of the page object and slide down a little here, border left, border top, border right, border bottom are the parent inner width and height multiplied by about 3%, 0.03. So there's a 3% border left, right, top, bottom here that are displayed, and then additionally some padding left, right, top, bottom here of another 3%, which is why if you look at this text and this icon that they're in from the top and from the left. So there's some padding and borders maintained here. Notice that the fill color and the background color are set, both of them. And the background color starts with 90 hex, which is about 2/3 opaque and 1/3 transparent. So you can actually see the little checkerboard pattern through the edge here. I can change how I'm seeing the transparency color. So when this overlay pops up over top of a given page, this border, this ring around the edge, will be somewhat transparent, and then the fill color, this dark in the middle, also is just slightly transparent. If that were FF, that would be fully opaque. So there's a little bit of transparency, maybe 10%. So you'll just see a hint of what the screen is underneath that this overlay is on top of, just enough to give the user the idea that this is an overlay, it's not a separate page, and that when they close it, they're going to go back to that page. This technique is great for things like help screens, where you can put a little help icon or information icon, it can pop up, or things like keypad entries or adjustment settings. If you have to go up or down from a given setting, click it, up comes a little overlay, you adjust, you close, and it goes back in. Now, this is all, we've talked about all this from a layout construction perspective. I've got all these pages. Pages always render when they're visible. They don't render when they're not visible. So it's important when you look at pages that, for instance, the splash page that comes up first is visible true. But it's also equally important that the home page is set up to be visible false. A common mistake is you'll add another page, and by default it might be visible true. You'll bring up your GUI and you see that page even though it's not enabled, and you go, hey, where's my splash page? It's because you forgot to make this page visible false, and then turn it on later when you navigate to it. Notice the overlay page is also not visible. Now, how these pages become visible is the subject of the next video. So for now, let's summarize here and say we have the concept of pages, and typically you'll have your first page visible. You'll have your other pages start up not visible, visible false. You can have fully opaque pages like this one, the splash page and the home page. Or you can make semi-transparent pages like this overlay page. And pages are rendered in order. So if this were visible, which it is when we start off, it will be rendered. If we would turn this to visible at startup, this would render, and then this would render over top, and you would see the other page underneath. So you can actually create a page that is just the header area, and then after that create a page that is just the footer area, the rest of the page being transparent, and then merge those two together by having them both visible, and you'll see both of them on the screen at the same time. So you can composite areas of the screen if you want that way as well. So that's pages in a nutshell. They're shown here in the little thumbnails. You can make them text or images. You can use your thumb wheel to scroll. You can see them here. You can select them here or over here and look at their properties.